Hey everyone, kalImsiYT here, and today I'm doing another speed build. This time it's of a cozy family home. I think there are 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms total in this house. Right now you can see that I'm starting out in Brindleton Bay. Now this doesn't stay here, so originally I thought that this style of housing would work good. However, in my current save file, which is where I'm building this, I wanted to put it originally in one of the other neighborhoods. However, I've kind of already filled those lots, so I had no choice but to go to this one. However, I really don't feel like this style of house. I think it's more of like a Cape Cod-ish house. I really don't feel like that fits here in this neighborhood. So we're starting out here. I just kind of get the initial frame going on this house. However, it won't be here for long, so don't get too attached to it. I take it to Willow Creek, and I think it works a bit better there with some of the other houses. It's in one of the nicer neighborhoods. There you can see I just switched over to Willow Creek, and you can see that I also for this build decided to play around with some terrain tools, and usually I'm not very good at this. This is like one of the parts of building I feel like I need a lot of practice on, just because I don't use terrain tools super often in my builds. I usually keep them super flat, but I think that using the terrain tools for this really helped, and I really like how there's a few stairs and then kind of a surface area where you can access the front yard, and then another stairs, and that kind of takes you up into that initial front porch. So yeah, right now I'm just playing around with that, and I used the tool mod quite a bit in this build. Right now you can really see me playing around with the fencing in this because I wanted to make almost a retaining wall type of thing, because I feel like that's very common to see in this type of housing, terrain type of thing. Like, you're not gonna have just the hill and then just nothing protecting it and then the sidewalk. Like, that doesn't, one, it doesn't look good, and then 2, it doesn't make much sense structurally. So that's why I went in with these walls. I originally just had them on the first half of the house. However, you'll see later in this build I extended into the backyard as well, but I don't keep the terrain higher in the backyard. I do end up leveling that out at some point. You can kind of see in the back with the porch, I kind of have that same stair thing going on in the front, kind of mirrored a bit in the back. So yeah, right now I am just working on the exterior. It ended up coming together a lot quicker than I thought it was going to. Usually I don't use reference photos in my build. However, I did use one for this. I got this idea for a house off of Pinterest, and I'll put the photo in here so you guys can kind of see what it looks like. And I think I did a pretty good job recreating it. One thing I'm kind of building right now is almost like a little side deck area, and there's some archways in there. I eventually kind of play around with the tool mod again, and I fence off those areas to kind of make it almost look like a deck, but it kind of just serves as a walkway to get through the front and back yards if you don't go like through the house. And I really just kind of treat it as like a little bonus outdoor seating, like living area. Not really like living isn't there like stuff, but just like another room that the people in this house can use. And with the wallpapers, I'm doing that right now. Usually I have so much trouble figuring out wallpaper. This house wasn't really an exception to that. You can see I knew I wanted to have brick on the first level and then some sort of siding on the second level and the roofing, and so I originally went with this dark navy blue from Cats and Dogs, and I kind of played around with the colors of the siding a bit. However, I just didn't think it looked quite right, so eventually I'm gonna go and change it, and I believe I changed it to the siding that comes with Growing Together. That's it. There's so many similar pack names. It's really easy to lose track. There's also just a bunch of packs in general. So it's really easy to kind of lose track of which is named what. But yeah, eventually I'm gonna switch over into the growing together siding. I think I'd do it in a darker blue color, kind of similar to the first little bit of siding I had on there. But yeah, so I'm doing the deck right now. Again, I do have some Sims in mind for who is living here, because I am building this house for my save file. Since there is 3 bedrooms, I kind of imagined that this family would consist of 2 parents, 2 children. Specifically, I had 2 daughters in mind when I was building this, and then they have a dog. And my kind of storyline I was creating when I built this, I don't really have like a thorough storyline in mind whenever I create them. However, whenever I do build houses, I do like to think about what different types of Sims would live there, because I feel like that really helps with determining kind of the style of decorating I do. And I feel like it helps avoid me just decorating houses the same every single time. So I imagined that the mom of this household is really into traveling. I haven't decided exactly what her job is. I don't remember if Jungle Adventure came with a career or not. However, if there is like an archaeology like travel career, I want to have her in that. And if not, then maybe she just like does it on her own free time. Like she'll just go to the world of Selva Dorada and explore on that. Because I really wanted it to be like she's a well-traveled person, and she makes her money through archaeology kind of. And so she's gonna have a pretty high archaeology skill. And then for the dad of this household, I was thinking he was a professor at either Brightchester or Foxbury. Probably of art history or some sort of humanities type of class. I kind of wanted to mimic the furnishings of this house based on that, so you'll kind of see throughout that I'll put like, I don't know, like a world map and just stuff like that, stuff to kind of show that maybe these Sims have been places. I'm not sure how well that comes across. And then lastly, the 2 daughters of the house, I imagine one is a teenager and then one is a child. And for the teenager, I really imagined that she was into music. You'll kind of see in her room that I'll have like the records, CD player. I also put a keyboard in there, and I was thinking about maybe having her, I haven't created these Sims yet, granted. However, I was kind of thinking about having like a little band of teens in my save file, and if I do end up going through with the band idea, I kind of want to put her in there. I think that would be kind of fun. Oh, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it's thunderstorming outside of my window right now, so if you can hear the thunders, I apologize. But yeah, moving on to the other daughter, she's a child, and I didn't have a whole lot in mind for her personality. However, I kind of imagined that she was a bit more on the spoiled side, and the reason why I kind of thought about that is because, I mean, this is a pretty nice house, and I imagine that the parents have made a lot of money from being, a traveler, professor, and because of that, she just has had all she wants in life. And so right now she's a pretty spoiled kid. I imagine her and her sister don't get along very well. But yeah, that's just kind of what I had in mind. I'd be so open to suggestions if any of you have any ideas for what these Sims could be like. I do plan on creating them for my save file pretty soon, and I've kind of talked over a decent amount of what I've been doing. So I went and I did the floor plan, and floor plans are another thing that I struggle with a lot with building. It's like siding and floor plans. And so I actually, for this one, the floor plan, it didn't come together super quickly. I actually had a failed attempt that I cut out of this, of just a floor plan that just didn't work. However, the floor plan that I did decide on for this, I feel like works pretty nicely with the house. You kind of go into an entrance area, and then off to your right is a dining room, and that dining room has a door that kind of takes you out to that side deck I was talking about earlier. But then if you go to your left, it'll take you to the living room, and if you go straight back, it'll take you into the kitchen, which then goes out into the backyard, and then there's like a laundry room, bathroom, combo that I'm furnishing right now. And so I believe I finished the kitchen, or I at least put down the frame, the main bits of it, in the kitchen and in the bathroom here that you guys can see. I'm really using like the high school years tile. I think it's from high school years, kind of more of an Art Deco theme for the backsplash, which is something I rarely ever use as wallpaper. However, I feel like it ends up working really nicely in here with these base game brown counters, and then I use a base game floor tile. Oh, and you can see here now I'm coloring up, so I'm still working on the kitchen. And I've never used this combo before. However, I think I'm gonna keep using it because I feel like the colors go together really nicely. And I did that same thing in the bathroom slash laundry area next door. I usually try to include laundry in most of my builds. I don't in every single one, but I feel like it's pretty realistic, and just in life, and because everyone does laundry, and I like to include it. It gives me just another thing to put in the builds. So yeah, right now I am cluttering up the kitchen. I am a fan of clutter in builds, but I don't like an insane amount. Like, I think it's definitely more realistic if there is clutter around that kind of shows that like people are actually living here, as opposed to some builds not having any clutter at all whatsoever. However, I'm not a huge fan of whenever clutter kind of goes too far and every single surface is filled with something and it's not super usable in game. I kind of try to make it so that my builds are usable for whenever you play them. I'm not really a simmer that does a whole lot of gameplay, but I do keep it in mind, like in case I play the game and I want to go play in this build at some point. Like, I'd like it to work. And so that's what I was kind of going for with this kitchen. Putting some stuff down, make it look like people live here, they do things. It's not just a model home, but not too much that like it's just not usable or it just looks kind of messy. And you can see right here that I'm working on almost a little pantry area for this place. And I kind of I like to do this sometimes in my builds, where I'll take a 2x1 room and I'll put an archway in there so it's open, and then I'll put different shelving units or a side table in there, and I'll just kind of clutter it up with stuff. So like here I used some empty bookshelves from the Book Nook kit, and I'm just putting different items in here to just clutter it up, make it look like this is where they store food. In reality, in The Sims, we don't need pantries. The Sims can just spawn food from thin air. However, I think it's more realistic if you do have clutter and a pantry and food to stock that pantry. One thing I really wish we had in the game was just items of like cans, food, like boxes of cereal, stuff like that. Just things so I can like clutter that up easier. And I know I could just use custom content because I know that does exist. However, I'm not a huge custom content fan, at least for builds CC. And so I try to avoid that and use different things that we already have in the game. However, when you do a bunch of them, you kind of have to start using the same items over and over again, which I'm not a super huge fan of. However, I think for this build, it works pretty well. And you can see on the item, the island, oh my gosh, I can't speak. You can see there that I did clutter it up a bit by putting some post-it notes, glasses, thing of change, and yeah, that is pretty much the kitchen. I did also put a food bowl there for the dog too. I imagine, I feel like this family would have a pretty big dog, and so I kept that in mind. I ended up putting the bed in like the little loft area upstairs, where like it's kind of like a hallway before you go into the different bedrooms. I imagine that's where the dog slept. And the reason for that is because I forgot to put a bed in the rest of the house. And so I did the loft last, which you'll see later on. And then I was like, oh, I didn't account for the dog. And so I just put it there. I'm sure the dog will be happy there. It's fine. Usually I like to put dog beds in living rooms, but yeah, I just forgot. And you'll see kind of later on whenever I do the living room that there really isn't room for it. It's overall like a pretty small space. Right now, going ahead and doing the dining room. The dining room for this, maybe I'm not doing the dining room. Maybe I'm doing the living room. We'll see. I'm putting in the wallpaper right now. I usually, with a lot of houses, I've found I gravitate more towards that paneling wallpaper that's from base game with the different colors. I feel like that one looks really nice in just ordinary houses. I wish there were more swatches for it because there's only a few. Actually, there's more than a few. There's a handful. And they actually did recently go in and put more swatches in there. I don't know, maybe like a year or two ago. But I still use it up pretty quickly. But for the dining room, which I am furnishing, I was right about that. I'm using the Realm of Magic wallpaper, which does have white paneling similar to the rest of the house, but not the same. I do kind of wish that there was a way I could use the same paneling on the rest of the house in the dining room, but it's fine. Around the fireplace, because there's a fireplace in the dining room, I did also put like white brick in the back just because I thought maybe it looks a little better. And you can see I'm kind of putting in some like decorations that are like multicultural, especially in the wall art. I think later in the living room I put in some more as well. And then there's that vase there. Again, just kind of an ode to the mother of the household traveling a lot. I don't know if she still does. Maybe it's a thing of her past and she just has a lot of mementos and souvenirs from it, and she's doing something else now with her career. Maybe we'll go with that. Or maybe she's currently going. Who's to say? Probably me, since I'm the one that makes the storylines, but I haven't decided on that. So yeah, if you were to download this house, feel free to change it however you would like to fit your Sims. And yeah, I like find that it's kind of hard for me to clutter up dining rooms because you can put like a dining room table in there, and then if you're lucky, a bar. And actually for this dining room, I used the one tile bar that we got from the login rewards that was over this summer, where if like you logged in you would get a new item. I used that one, and that's one of the first times I think I've used it in a build since I've gotten it, and it was really nice to have that there. I think before the only one tile bar, or like bar that takes up one tile, was the globe bar from Vintage Glamour, but I don't have Vintage Glamour installed or purchased, so I don't have access to that. So it makes it kind of tricky whenever living or dining rooms are in tight spaces, because I would like the room to put a bar there, but it just doesn't happen. And I think those big like 2-4 tile bars are really good for community lots, but for residential homes, unless it's a really fancy one, I find it really annoying to have. It's not realistic. I feel like I can't really put them in my homes. I usually use those more in community lots. And so it's really nice that they added the item there. I feel the feeling it's going to continue to come in handy. And then speaking of rewards events, as a time of me recording this voiceover, the Reaper's rewards events hasn't quite ended yet. However, I've gotten through the entire challenge. Like I think it's 8 weeks total, but there's only 6 weeks worth of content for you to explore, and then the rest of the 2 weeks are for you to catch up if you're not able to log on and play week by week. So I went ahead and played through that. I kind of enjoyed the challenge. I liked the items that we got from it. I wasn't like super into it. I more just did it because I wanted the free stuff that came along with it. However, one thing that really I wasn't a fan of is that the challenge kind of broke my game a bit. I had to really go through, because I have the better build buy and dual mod in the game, and so I would have to disable that and then repair my game before I would go play it, which was kind of annoying when every week I would go to play it and it would do that. And then at one point, I think this was like week 3 or 4, the UI of like the different challenges to do just stopped showing up, just completely. There were the little Reaper guy in the corner was there, but every time I would click on him, nothing would happen. And so I ended up having to go in and like delete some file from some folder, and that ended up fixing it. But it's kind of annoying because I feel like that's not really something that we should have to do. I wish those rewards were more compatible. That'd be kind of cool. But in general, I think it was a cute little event, a way to get Sim players simmers, kind of involved doing things. I think it was really good to like promote the Life and Death expansion pack, which has come out at the time of me recording this. I haven't bought it yet, but I am kind of excited. From what I've seen on YouTube and other people playing the pack, it seems like people are really enjoying it, and that it's actually like a thorough pack with minimal bugs and actual full gameplay that's worthy of the expansion pack title, which has been kind of hard to come by nowadays. I feel like recently with a lot of the expansion packs, the Sims team is pretty lazy, which I know is a very cold take. A lot of people kind of think that, but especially with like For Rent and Lovestruck. I don't have Lovestruck, but just like, and then a bit of Horse Ranch too, just not having enough content or gameplay activities to really fill what is expected of an expansion pack. And from what I've heard and seen so far, it seems like Life and Death actually has a lot. I'm really excited to kind of play around with the different features of like being a ghost. I know there's like a new occult tree that you can kind of explore in gameplay. I think that's really cool. And then the build and buy also looks pretty good. So I'm excited. I do plan on getting it at some point. I don't quite know when. I don't know if I'll wait for it to go on sale, just because $40 for an expansion pack, it's kind of a lot, especially when you have other things to pay for. However, I am really excited for when I do get it at some point. I wasn't really sure at first of what I thought of Life and Death, especially because at least in real life, I'm sure most people feel this way too, like the concept of death like grosses me out a lot, and I didn't think I'd really want to play with that in my Sims game, especially with like the funeral new like event feature. I still don't know if I'll play with that. That feels just a little weird. I know some players are like really into that, especially legacy players, because they can like give their Sims like a proper celebration, but like I don't know if I really want to simulate that in my own gameplay. But I guess it's cool that the option is there. I'll just kind of see how I feel about that when I actually get in the gameplay. But I love that it comes with a cemetery lot type. I think that's something we really needed for a long time in The Sims. I'm really surprised that it didn't get put in with the base game patch. Kind of like how with My Wedding Stories, the wedding venue lot type was kind of just patched into the base game. I'm really surprised that that didn't happen with cemeteries as well, because that's such an integral part of The Sims, in my opinion. I really miss like whenever your Sim would die and the grave would just spawn on the cemetery lot type. I feel like that's kind of that was just really nice in The Sims 3 when that would happen. And I'm not sure if The Sims 4 works that way as well, or if you have to manually go in and put the grave in with the new expansion pack. I'm not sure how that works, but I'm curious to see. I think that'll be really cool, especially for long-term legacy players or players who play in the same save for a really long time. Just getting to have a cemetery, a designated place to put your dead Sims where you can go back and visit, instead of just keeping them on your home lot and then having a bunch of graves in the backyard, because that just looks kind of weird. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the new pack. I'm really curious about what everyone else thinks of it, and I'm really excited to play it whenever I do get the opportunity to. I'm hoping it's soon. But yeah, right now you can see that I ended up furnishing the living room. I talked through the entire living room, and I'm now moving on to the upstairs into the teens' bedroom. For this one, I used some base game wallpaper and then I matched it with this bed from high school years. And I really like the beds that come with this pack. I think they're good for teenagers, obviously, which makes sense because that's what the pack was designed for. However, I just think in general, like, it just came with some good beds to use with some new patterns that we didn't previously have. And so I used a new one. I don't think I've ever used that one before, but I think it looks really good here. It matches with everything else in the room. I went in and I put that keyboard, and I'm putting posters and just some clutter in the room right now, just to make it look kind of lived in, almost like a teenager does actually live here. Because most of the time, kids' rooms, I feel like no kids' room is really as polished or as finely or as decorated as an adult's room like in the same style. Like a lot of times I've noticed, at least in real life, like kid or teen rooms, or even like my room, and I'm a young adult, like just having a lot more personality in the rooms as compared to like rooms for like older people or older Sims in the case of this game. And so I just was kind of playing around with this or with that, and now I'm moving into the child's room, and I really like how this room turned out. I used red wallpaper, or I don't know if it's red, it's like a pinkish red, and then I matched it with, again, another bed from high school years, but I used a single bed because I really don't feel like, I don't know, I don't really like to make my child Sims have like double beds. I feel like that's like reserved for teens and up, and so I didn't put that in this room. However, I really like how those colors complement each other and just the overall color scheme I went with for this room. And usually for kids' rooms, I don't go with a color scheme like this, or really just bright colors like this in general. And so I really like how this ended up turning out. I kind of mismatched the furniture sets a little bit. I kind of imagined that she kind of accumulated it through time, and then I put a vanity in there because I also imagined that this teen was like really into like beauty or makeup, or not teen, child. This child was really into like beauty or makeup. Like she's finally starting to play around with that. She's at that age. Maybe like if this was real life, maybe like 10, 11 years old, something where she's finally starting to get interested in jewelry and nail polish, stuff like that. I just thought a vanity would go well with in here, and then the gold with the vanity, which I believe is from, oh gosh, what kit is it? I think it's the sophisticated, the chic, modern luxe kit. That's what it's called. There's so many at this point. I feel like I can't really keep the names straight. But yeah, that's from the Modern Luxe kit, and it goes with the bed and the nightstand pretty well. And I'm also doing just some wall art in here. I used this bookshelf from Cats and Dogs, and I feel like that works pretty well here as well. And I used some wall decals from Get Together. And yeah, that's about it for this room. I apologize if you just heard me switch audios or if I made some weird noises there. I did just have to pause and go cough for a second. I guess that's what happens whenever you talk for 30 minutes straight without drinking any water. Who would have known? I'm gonna have to prepare for that more next time. This is only like my second voiceover. This is my second video ever. And so I'm still kind of getting used to doing the voiceover and talking for an extended period of time like this. I find it's been a little hard to do that. However, I think I will just continue to get better as I keep doing it. And now, yeah, I'm moving on to the parents' room. And for this one, I use like this blue wallpaper from the base game. And I usually don't use it because it doesn't like usually come in the swatch. It's one of the ones you have to click on, but the kind of the thumbnail swatch that shows up in the build catalog when you first load it up is like a very bold pattern. And because of that, I don't really click on it often because it kind of scares me. However, for this build, I found it comes in this nice blue and white, and I really just kind of wanted to use it. And then as far as the bedroom set goes, I mainly just used the for rent one in here. I figured that this family is rich enough to have like a full nice bedroom set in the master bedroom, and I kind of wanted to just put that in there. And I have like matching dressers for both of the parents, and also one thing I don't think I added is that the teen and the master bedroom, both of those rooms are going to have an ensuite to them. So the child in this family is going to have to go downstairs and use the bathroom and like that laundry bathroom combo, which kind of sucks for her, but I think it's not that big of a deal. She can live with it. I hope for gameplay purposes that doesn't really mess anything up, but I don't know. I really hope it doesn't. So yeah, really right now, I'm kind of going in and just doing the finishing touches on this bedroom. I tried to put more of like those travel themed items that we have in the game up. We have a decent amount from base game. However, I feel like Jungle Adventure, obviously, and then For Rent has some pretty good ones. And I think Growing Together might have a couple too. Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong pack, but I feel like Growing Together has a couple. Oh, and Snowy Escape. I don't have Snowy Escape. However, I know that pack does have quite a bit of nice things for that. And yeah, now I'm working on that loft area, the one that I was telling you about earlier, where I like chucked the dog bed there at the end. I also included a little office area to where I imagined the dad or like the professor would kind of do some work. So I put a filing cabinet. I don't know, maybe that's where he keeps like exams he gives students or like graded tests and stuff. Not really sure. I heard, so I'm actually a college student, but I heard that professors have to keep their exams for like 2 years after giving it out, for like information, for like grading policy purposes. And so maybe that's what that filing cabinet is used for. I don't know. And usually I do the landscaping along with the rest of the exterior. How I usually build is like the entire exterior and then the entire interior, and then I'm done. But I didn't do that this time. Instead, I did like the main house part of the exterior, where obviously I did like the doors, windows, frame, roofing, wallpapers, all of that. So I got like the actual house part done. But I didn't do a lot of the landscaping before, other than putting the hedges in to kind of hide the retaining wall thing I did with the fences from debug and then the terrain. And so I'm going in now and I'm just doing some landscaping. I don't feel like I'm the best at landscaping. However, I feel like I did a pretty decent job on this one. I feel like putting some trees in here really just makes the environment a lot cozier. And now I'm just going around with terrain paints, kind of making it look like that there's some dirt where things are planted. And I believe that's about all I did for the front. And I'm also having some trouble there, kind of erasing the terrain paints from the part that's sticking out over the fence. I think some of it is just from having the elevation tool, like the terrain tools, and there you can kind of see there's some brown in between just in general, and you can't get rid of that even when you have the eraser thing on there, which I think is kind of annoying. So I couldn't do anything about that one, but everything I could should be gone. So it should theoretically be like nice and clean on the side. I don't think it actually is, due to that little annoying thing in the game. And I'm doing a little bit here on the exterior as well. This backyard is not great for putting things in. Like, there's a little bit of a deck area, but then when you go down the stairs, there's not a whole lot of room for anything else. And so I tried to kind of create an area with like the terrain paints again, for like to at least have a table and chairs there, because I feel like, you know, you would want to sit out in your backyard and like spend time there whenever you can. And then I also connected the little side deck area with the actual back deck, because again, I'm kind of seeing that as like a little bridge or like go through area from the front to the back of the house. And so I use actual tile for that, but to get the flooring, not flooring, like the terrain paint. Yeah, I had to use terrain paint on the back part, on the lowest part is what I'm saying, because it curves there. And you can't curve with tile, which makes sense. But it does cause it to be a bit mismatched, which I don't love. But you just kind of have to deal with it. Another thing too, in this build, I tried to put ceiling paint or ceiling tiles in here to kind of mix up the ceiling. However, for some reason, like the game wouldn't let me. Like, it was glitching out about that. And so unfortunately, the ceilings in this house are not painted. Sorry. I tried, but again, for some reason, that just wasn't working when I did it. Oh, and then one thing too I didn't mention is that I imagine the mom in this household is also really into gardening. Not like crazy into it, but like she does it as a little hobby. And so you can see here on the deck that I'm putting some plants up, and just like some general gardening things. And I think I do put a few of the planter boxes down by the side yard. I guess we'll see if I actually did. I'm pretty sure I didn't do that. I also am putting, yeah, like I said, a table and chairs out for your Sims to sit at if they do decide to grill and eat outside. And I'm kind of editing the terrain paint there to kind of fit that in better. I would have liked to put a pool of some sort, or maybe like a pond or something, but the lot just simply isn't big enough. And so I didn't really have space for that, which is fine. I don't think every house should have a pool or a pond, but it is really nice whenever I do have the space for that. So yeah, you can see here that I did put in 2 planter boxes. That's really all I could fit. And then I put a little bike in for the child sim. Another thing too, I think putting the tree house in would have been pretty cool. But again, there just wasn't room for that. So I didn't end up doing that. So yeah, now I'm just putting in the finishing touches and doing the rest of the landscaping. But I think I'm going to end this voiceover here. So if you liked the video, please, give it a like, subscribe, comment some suggestions, what you may want to see next. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one. Oh, and if you want to download this house, my gallery ID is kalid_343. So it's KALID_343. Yeah, and I think that's all I have for this. So thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.